Hi everyone, welcome back to the Rangers Reviews post-match briefing. Myself and Chris here as ever to break down Rangers 2, Ayr 0 in the Scottish Cup. That scoreline probably tells you everything about the game. Not the most eventful. Philippe Clement pretty happy with it. Chris, it wasn't the most eventful game. One of these games that happens in seasons, and it is probably important to remember that when these games do come around, that they're an inevitability. I thought Ayr actually were pretty brave in the way they tried to play. Jack Bilton didn't have much to do, but I thought they did manage to get up the pitch a fair amount. They had a lot of set pieces, and simultaneously, I don't think that their goalkeeper had all that much to do. With that being said, it was always comfortable for Rangers. Largely, you always felt like they were going to go on and win it. A lot of gears to click into that they probably didn't have to. What stood out to you today, apart from the fact that Borna Barisic scored his first goal at Ibrox in what feels like a long time?
That's one of the main positives. I think Barisic took his goal well. Second goal was thoroughly deserved and kind of eased a bit of the nerves and slight tension in the air. Actually, walking back on the gantry at full time whistle, one of the Rangers media staff said, "Oh, sports scene's on at 10:30, so you can watch the highlights." I might not bother. I think once we've seen it once, that's probably it. But as you say, you do get these low key games. It was low league opposition.
But they had a go, didn't they?
I thought, how many times have we sat here over previous seasons and you've seen teams come here and just offer nothing at all, not be brave with the ball, not show any attacking intent, not have any creativity from set pieces, like free kicks and corner routines, and fair play to Ayr. They clearly came with a plan. They had to try and frustrate Rangers, had to try and stay in it for as long, but even when they lose the goal fairly early on and could have lost a goal within a couple of minutes with the Cortez one that hits the post. They didn't look flustered by it. They didn't look overawed by the occasion. So fair play to them. I thought they made it more of a game than other teams have and perhaps would have done. But from a Rangers perspective, obviously, it's very much its job done. It's on to the next round. It's a couple of goals. It's a clean sheet. No injuries that we're aware of, which is always a rarity and a good thing. So I know the manager said post-match in his presser there, he almost apologised to the fans for not giving them more goals. I think the crowd of just under 44,000 here tonight,
which is very impressive for a TV game.
Very impressive for Saturday. It's not the ideal kick-off time. It shows the commitment of the Rangers fans, but I think it shows as we've spoken about the last couple of weeks, this kind of synergies the manager mentions, that there's definitely a belief in this squad. Once again, people want to come and watch them. People will believe that something might actually happen this season. I think overall it's been a fairly pleasing afternoon. If, as the manager said, it could have had a couple more goals in it.
Ryan says, job done, 3 points up the road. Of course, there is no points today, but the sentiment, I agree with you, Ryan. I want to start talking about Oscar Cortez, who I thought was really good in that first half. I think what Rangers have lacked for a long time is a winger or wide attacker who kind of gives you everything. And I've only seen him for 45 minutes. I'm not saying he's going to give you everything. But as a profile, you've got someone like Sima who, I don't know if he's going to be here long term. I think it would be very difficult for Rangers to keep him. But he's not really a winger. He's not someone who I would say can control the tempo of the game by the touchline. He's not someone you want out there. Cortez, we know he's got a goal threat. Hit the post early on. What impressed me about his game today, and I think being a winger is one of the more difficult positions when you're facing a deeper defence, because you're constantly trying to battle between when you take risks and when you don't. But he just varied his game a lot. At times he went on the outside, at times he cut inside, and we saw him hit the post as the lights go out around us. Hit the post about a minute into the game. We saw him move inside and link well. I just thought his use of the ball, Chris, was really good. And of course, he faded a little bit. He was always going to have to come in and make an impact, or be able to be ready to play pretty quickly when he came into the club, because of the lack of depth up top. And while this is only a 45-minute spell against, as you say, lower league opposition, I thought for a first start it was actually a really encouraging performance from him.
I think there was an excitement about him every time he got the ball, and that was evident from the first couple of minutes. He had the one where he goes down and cuts inside, unlucky hit the post. Another one that he's flashed across, gets the assist for the Barisic goal. And I thought, as you say, Josh, throughout his time on the pitch, he just looked up for it. He wanted to get on the ball. He wanted to try and take on his man and say either go down the touchline or come into the pitch to try and make things happen. He's not perfect. We don't expect him to be. We're not going to get overly excited. They're not going to go OTT on him. But I think for a first start, on the back of a couple of encouraging performances off the bench, as I spoke about pre-match, I think he's almost done everything apart from score a goal. I think he's done everything that you could really wish for in his first couple of weeks. So I think he looks the type of guy who is going to get the fans off their seats. That's not going to say he'll make the right decision every time. That's not to say he might not even be able to get anywhere near replicating Seema in terms of the numbers, goals and assists. But he looks exciting. He looks a prospect. He looks someone that the fans would actually enjoy seeing playing. And I think his decision making, when you compare him to Matondo, one of his biggest flaws, if you like, is his decision making. From what I've seen of Cortez so far, it looks as if that's maybe an area where he's got a trump card.
I just feel like, from my experience of watching Rangers throughout my teens and early 20s, a Rangers winger with good decision making is just doesn't it feels completely out of place. Can't remember the last one. Colin says Oscar was the excitement in that game, and Thomas says he looks like a proper live wire and will improve as he is acclimatized to the team. Yeah, I agree with that, Thomas, because I think that there's a tendency as well for wingers when they do, like Cortez, he hits the post early on. When they do something that comes off to do the same thing every single time.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't. He then moved into the middle of the pitch, created space for Barisic. There was one moment where kind of successively, when he got the ball against the right back on the touchline, he twice went on the outside, once with a nutmeg, once he just allowed the ball to run beyond him. So I thought a promising full debut. Diomande still kind of getting up to speed, and I think you could see that. Connor Goldson's press conference, which was interesting, will be up on the to read and watch on the YouTube channel and the website soon. Touched a little bit on both of those new signings as well. What else is there to talk about? Todd Cantwell, I thought, came off the bench, and this is what is going to be on the site tomorrow. I think it's been a good week for him. He scored against Livingston. He scored a big goal against Aberdeen. I thought when he came off the bench today, Chris, it's not so much that he created 10 chances or that he scored, and he didn't get the direct assist, although he did. It's him that created that chance. I thought he just looked a bit more like himself. And Cantwell's game, he's been really good in 2024. He's now playing in that number 10 position. He's had a bit of time to acclimatise to it. He scored 4 goals in 5 league starts or whatever the stat is. But I think so much of his game is based around confidence in the ability, in his ability, the ability to take risks and make it count. And I think for a while he didn't quite look like that player. He was playing out of position. There was criticism of his game, and it feels like now he's in a good spell where he is starting to show. And again, the proof of this will be at the end of the season. But I think he's starting to show that he can step up for Rangers and be a big player for them, which they really need him to be. And I think since the criticism of that Old Firm performance, he's not really put a foot wrong. Obviously, will have in games, but he's responded well. And I don't know if you agree, but I just think that he looked a bit more like the kind of player who arrived at Rangers, which is one who's confident in their ability. And I think the fans here really like that type of player when they go and do the stuff at the end of it, which he has been doing this year.
I think he looks more like the player we all thought he was. We all hope he can be. We all need him to be. We know how influential he can be in this side. If Rangers are going to have a successful season, Todd Cantwell has to be at it. He's one of those players. He's not going to define the season, but there's so much good in his game, so many ways that he can be a game changer. It can be a match winner for Rangers. I thought the Rangers didn't really have that much down the right hand side. I thought Scott Wright was really off it. But then Cantwell comes on, gets himself in that right channel. Nice interchange. He was actually unlucky. I don't know if it was a cross or a shot, but whatever it was perfectly dinked. It was like a pitching wedge right over the top of the goalkeeper. Matondo probably should score. Silva then does, and it's just those small moments. It's making the right run. It's choosing the right option to have the vision to try and dink the keeper rather than, well, I'm on a really tight angle, I'm just going to put my laces through it and we'll see where it goes, or cutting it back, or just like running into a dead end. He had the vision, had the composure just to, right, well, there's a bit of space there. I'm going to go and put the ball in there, and I'll see if it goes in myself, great. If it doesn't, well, as the play unfolded, we then saw what could possibly happen. If that had been Scott Wright in that position, he would have fired that across goal and he could have put an attention to got it away. The manager mentioned Diomande playing slightly further forward today. I think when Cantwell came on and he was the closest one to the striker, I thought Rangers looked a lot more effective. That's no slight on Diomande. I think that's more of an insight into what Cantwell's bringing to the side right now.
I think it's responsibility, and it's like when we were speaking coming at the latest transfer window, and you look at that front six of options, McCausland, Matondo, Cantwell, Dessers as your starters with Silva and Cortez, and we didn't know much about either of those players, hadn't seen them play much for Rangers. You're looking and you're thinking, and this is very much, I think, based on the fact that, as we spoke about pre-match, Rangers haven't won a meaningful Old Firm in far too long, and that's been the difference between really league titles and not over the past couple of seasons. And you're looking at players thinking, okay, who in that fixture is gonna and in other fixtures is gonna take responsibility. And I think what you're seeing with Cantwell is the ability to be a player for Rangers who takes attacking responsibility to make things happen. And he's an interesting player because he's quite an individual player in some senses, and then I also think he's not an individual player because he's not a winger who's going to thrive in space. He's not always someone who's going to go past four players and always score individual goals. I think a lot of what he brings to the team is actually outside goals and assists, but then you need to bring the goals and assists when you're in that position and when Rangers' attacking options are as they are. So I think a good week for him. Fabio Silva gets another goal and another kind of poacher's goal. I thought he had a decent game. At times, I think his movement was really good. At times, other times, I think he's running a lot and maybe could do with staying a little bit more central. But the important thing is he gets another goal. I'm sure that'll help his confidence. I'm sure that Dessers will start on Wednesday night because Silva played the full 90 today. But good for him to get another goal. I guess that's the main takeaway.
Definitely, I think, as you say, overall, I thought it was decent. I thought there was more. That there was a lot of endeavour in there, a lot of work. Yeah. As you say, he does cover a lot of ground. He covers more ground. I think a lot of people would have assumed that he would do.
Yeah.
I thought people would think he maybe just he'll jog into these areas and he'll maybe pick the ball up and he'll jog somewhere else. But he certainly puts himself about. He doesn't seem fazed by the physical nature of Scottish football. Wasn't really an issue today. That's not to say that Ayr were rough and tumble on him. I thought overall he was good. I think he was just kind of like a lot of Rangers players. It was 7 out of 10 stuff. I don't think MD stood out. Nobody had an excellent game that we can really go say, oh, what a vintage performance. I'm going to go and rewatch that game because of it. I think there was a lot of 6, 7 out of 10 performances from Rangers. Ultimately, that was more than enough to get the job done. So I think getting another goal for Silva, I think getting the minutes was important. I think actually getting the time alongside Cantwell was important as well. Yeah. It's going to be Cantwell who's going to be closest to him.
They seem to have a good relationship.
That bond looks to be forming quite quickly, which is good. The manager mentions a lot about the story doesn't happen in the space of a couple of training sessions. It will take sessions. It will take game time. I think the more time that Cantwell and Silva spend together, the better that relationship could hopefully become, because they are going to be two very, very important players. There's a lot of guile, a lot of goals in that combination, hopefully.
As we come to a close, Nico Raskin still not quite there, still needs a bit of a performance. Had that moment where Rangers had a chance with, I think it was a 4v2 and he picked the wrong pass. Sometimes maybe it's a difficult position to put in a performance in a game like this, but probably still in a place where he needs to put up together a bit of a run in the team. And it'll be interesting to see actually if he does start on Wednesday, Chris, because where does Diomande fit in? Will Tom Lawrence continue next to John Lundstrom? If it's a game where Rangers are expecting that they're going to have to break down Ross County quite a lot, I'd predict at the moment that the midfield three for Wednesday night, is it Wednesday night against Ross County, will be Todd Campbell, John Lundstrom and Tom Lawrence. Do you?
I would think so. I think so. I think the manager mentioned they're obviously being careful with Tom in terms of his comeback from injury, just like Ryan Jack. And I think if you look at the performance of Raskin and Jack today, and then compare that to what we saw last time we were here, the three last week were really, really impressive. I thought the midfield against Aberdeen was excellent. I would be surprised if Lawrence doesn't come back in. I don't think Raskin has done enough. As you say, it's perhaps it's a difficult kind of occasion to say I'm going to go and run this game because you're going to have a lot of the ball here. I don't think they camped in, but there's not a lot of space to operate at times. Raskin, I think he just looks a wee bit short of fitness, maybe a bit short of sharpness, a bit short of confidence. How you get all those things when, as we said pre-match, when there's such competition in the middle of the pitch now. It's not as if you can say, well, you'll get 6 games, and come game number 7, you'll be the Nico Raskin that we need you to be. He's not going to get those games because the manager now has these options. I'd be surprised if Jack starts on Wednesday night now, but I said Lauren's coming back in. Diomande at some point is going to be one of the key guys in this midfield. I don't think it's going to be in the role that we saw him play today. It's going to be slightly deeper, so again that limits Nico's options. So as a guy to have in a squad, you could certainly do it a lot worse. I think we've seen enough over his Rangers career to know that there is quality there. There's definitely something there, but it's just not quite clicking at present. I think unfortunately for Nico, once the fans start noticing these things, once they start getting this narrative almost of he's not quite at it, it then takes something quite special to then change that and get people back on side. But if he needs a motivation for that, just look at Todd Cantwell, because as you say, post Old Firm game, Todd was not quite public enemy in number 1, but people,
he wasn't the flavour of the month.
People were really questioning his role on the side. Where does he play? Should he start? Should he be in the squad? Should he even be here? Is he a player the manager likes? And all of a sudden, he's now an integral part of a side. Everybody's loving him, singing the songs, all the rest of it. Raskin can have that same comeback. It might just take a wee bit longer for him.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's a really good player, and I think he will be a really good player for Rangers. I just think he needs to now show over a concerted period of time. Just some comments before we close. Prime Time saying Raskin will come good, but he needs to go some. There's a lot of options now. Neil says Raskin was poor today. He definitely needs games. A lot of agreement for that. NM saying Raskin needs games, and Thomas saying Raskin searching for rhythm and tempo after that injury. Lots of competition should bring out the best in him. Yeah, I agree. And in a way, maybe it's good while he is not quite at his best that there is that competition and the options in there. Right, I think that'll do us, Chris. You're off for a bit of a holiday, so you'll enjoy that. Myself and Derek will be there. Derek will be back. Everyone will be delighted to know at 9:30 on Monday morning. We'll have lots of coverage on the site tomorrow, looking back on this game, looking ahead to Wednesday night. Chris has got a couple of really interesting pieces coming up in the week while he's off as well. But until then, thanks for joining us. We'll speak to you at 9:30 on Monday morning. Have a great rest of your weekend and speak to you soon. Bye for now.